Okay. Alright. This video is gonna be hard to listen to and hard for me to get through. God, this is already sounding like a typical apology. Fucking regret. I'm so sorry for everything and. But I'm joking now, but I already know I'm gonna choke back tears like a motherfucker throughout this whole story of my abusive past, how I grew out of it, and a lot of my regrets, and the biggest regret is gonna make me... Alright, let's just get it. Let's start at the beginning. God, this is really therapy now. I pretty much came out the womb unwanted because at a very young age, I was 3 years old, my father, who currently I'm in good connections with, we've resolved our problems, thankfully. We hang out like every Saturday. And he has his own other family now. I have step siblings, but I grew up a single child with my grandparents. My mother, who I still don't know, got divorced when I was 3. And so, my dad, he was a very young man, and he obviously didn't have any money or resources to properly take care of me, so left me with my grandparents. And my grandparents were alright. I consider my grandmother my mother. Best woman in the world, the most kind, has dealt with all my nonsense. I respect her. I hope to find a woman that's like my grandmother. Okay, so my grandfather was an alcoholic. He was very abusive. This motherfucker, to this day I don't like this guy. He was one of those angry, fat, blame everything on the world except him guys, and I can hardly recall any good memories that I have of him. I guess the closest ones would be when we were out fishing and he'd take me to guitar class, but even then, he took my guitar class so seriously and abused me, telling me that he'll hit me if I don't practice. He's gonna beat me, and of course, when I grew up into a man, he was scared of me because he knew now I can fight back. But when I was just a little kid, he'd punch me around like... Okay, so here's an abusive story from my grandfather. We were out driving one day because nobody liked this guy. Nobody wanted to be around him. Fucking course, alcoholic piece of shit. Nobody wanted to be around him, so he'd always force me to go out with him. And he had a terrible habit of drinking beer and driving. That's why I don't drink and drive, because I see what that makes me. And excuse me, I had a lot of Gatorade. I keep burping. But anyway, we were out driving one day, and he pulls over to a gas stop. Not for gas though. He was a gambling man. He always bought lottery tickets, hoping to make it big, like the fucking idiot he was, and still is. Like, he's still alive. That funeral's gonna be awkward as hell for me, man. So we stopped at this gas stop, and he gives me money to go buy a lottery ticket. Why? Because he's fat, lazy, and abusive, I guess. Why couldn't he do it? Looking back at it all, but I was a 12-year-old boy. So I just did what I was told. And so I go into the gas stop, get the lottery ticket, and come back. And he gets angry because it's not the lottery ticket, and he has this drunken fury in his eyes. I could feel it as a kid, saying, "You better get back in there and get me the right fucking lottery ticket, or I'm gonna slam you into this door." And of course, as a 12-year-old boy, I'm terrified. I go back into the gas stop with the lottery ticket in my hand, looking terrified, and the cashier says, "Sorry, we don't refund lottery tickets." And immediately, I just felt it throughout my whole body, that this hopelessness in me, that I already know if I come back to that drunken, angry man, something bad is gonna happen. So I get back into the car, and he starts driving, and to this day I remember this. This is a very traumatizing event for a child. He punches me in the face, starts screaming, and he's old, he's diabetic, and he has a heart attack. And I'm freaking out. Tears are running down my eyes. I'm trying not to cry. He keeps telling me not to cry. And I'm a 12-year-old boy having to drive this drunken old man back home so he can take his medication so he won't fucking die. And I remember, like, my hands are starting to shake. Oh, I remember I was driving. We get to the house. I didn't know anything about driving. I was 12. I somehow parked the car and got out. And we never told my grandmother about this because, of course, she'd freak out. And he didn't die. And this is where it gets really dark. Part of me wish he did. Yeah, that's how messed up is that? A grandchild wanting his own grandparent to die. I never considered him a father figure. He was not a good man. You know? That's why I know so much about this, and that's why I feel like I should be a father figure, because I never want people to go through what I went through. No person should have to go through abuse. Of course, I was bullied too. Like, a bullying story once I was in middle school. It was a terrible fucking middle school too. And I was just... Children are evil, man. You think they're innocent and shit? They're not fucking innocent. I was just chilling against the wall, and I was an awkward, shy guy. And of course, that's seen as weakness if you're a guy. It makes sense if you're a girl, but if you're a guy, you're shy, quiet, and awkward, people are gonna talk shit about you. And these 3 kids came out of nowhere and start beating the hell out of me. Like, I don't know if they were trying to jump me into a gang or something, but they only stopped because one of them knocked the wind out of my stomach and I started crying. And of course, they didn't want to get in trouble, so they're like, hey, you alright? Hey, if we ever do that again, just say quit playing, alright? Say quit playing. Like, okay, that's why you beat the hell out of me? I was minding my own business, and you come out of nowhere to beat the hell out of me? This is why I find military training so weird. One of the things they teach you in the beginning of the military is that you must remain calm and vigilant no matter the circumstances. Alright, you explain to me how the fuck I'm supposed to stay calm when there's a dying old man who happens to be my grandfather right next to me. Tell me how I'm supposed to remain calm and vigilant. I could never be a fucking soldier. Man, those guys are on a mental level that I can't even imagine. We're always scared, deep down. Alright. Now, so yeah, that was pretty much a lot of my past. Just growing up with an alcoholic grandfather. Didn't really get along too well with family, but well, we made it in the end. Alright. This is where it's gonna get hard, really hard for me. I know it's been hard to listen to already, but I'm gonna tell my audience one of my biggest regrets. And it's not a crime or anything, it's nothing like that. It's just, I took for granted a group of friends that I had known for 7 years. This group of friends. Oh God, come on, you're a man. These group of friends were like brothers to me. Every day they'd be there for me. I'd talk to them. And one day, I introduced a woman into the relationship. I guess this is why I have such a disgusting view against women, because getting along with them is very difficult. She got along with my best friend, and this guy, to this day, I've never met someone like him. Everybody loved him in the friend group. He was that guy. I'm not gonna name names. If I name names, I know it'll clear things up, but she got along with my best friend, and they became a couple. And me, being the young single idiot that I was, decided to take that away from him. But I've always been honest. I never hid anything from them. One day I got drunk, and this is why I consider alcohol evil too, because I started admitting a lot of things that I shouldn't have admitted. And next day I wasn't hungover because it was the first time I drank. Somehow I wasn't hungover. And I explained to my best friend that I took his girl from him. Yeah, the whole group of friendship thing wasn't the same after that. And there were times where I would leave and then come back, and then leave and come back again. But it got to the point where they wanted nothing to do with me. And I respected them enough. Left for good. 3 years later, there hasn't been a single day where I don't think about that. Think about that stupid fucking decision I made. Betraying my closest friend's trust. Disrespecting them. If they're listening, all I want to say is that I don't care that if you accept me back into that group, even though I would love to. I just know it would never be the same, but I just want you to know that I'm sorry. I really am sorry. Like I said, there wasn't a single day where I don't regret that. I have to go now.